Coming up on Network Africa, dozens of people feared dead in Sudan after shelling hits crowded market in North Darfur. Zimbabwe's Foreign Minister Amon Mowira meets with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov in Moscow. Plus, the Nigerian Senate upholds the 6-month suspension of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. Hello and welcome to the program today. I'm Layo Olarinde. We begin in Sudan, where dozens of people in the state of North Darfur are feared dead following heavy shelling on a camp for displaced people. Officials say the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF, attacked a crowded market in Abu Shuk. That's a camp on the outskirts of the city of El Fasher for roughly 2 hours. Tuesday's attack on Abu Shuk took place at the busiest time of the day. The camp's population are mostly Muslims who are observing the holy month of Ramadan, and many were out shopping at the market, preparing to break their fast for the day. The camp is home to over 500,000 displaced people, and the assault on its market is the second in 3 days. El Fasher is the last major town in Darfur under army control and has been under siege by the RSF for almost a year. In Mozambique, at least a dozen people have been injured after police violently dispersed a protest led by opposition leader Venancio Mondlane, the runner-up in last year's disputed presidential election. Mr. Mondlane's team and a civil society group say the police fired live rounds at the opposition leader's convoy and the anti-government protesters who had joined him on the streets of the capital Maputo on Wednesday. The protest came as President Daniel Chapo, who took office in January, was due to sign a deal after talks with other political parties to end months of protests over the disputed election. Mr. Mondlane, who has been calling for the protest, was excluded from the talks leading to the ceremony. Talking bilateral relations now, Zimbabwe's Foreign Minister Amon Mowira says his country remains a strong partner to Russia, and this was during talks with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov in Moscow. The minister arrived in Moscow on March 5th for diplomatic talks, marking his second visit to Russia in recent months. His previous trip in November 2024 included discussions with the Russian president's special representative for the Middle East and Africa. The dialogue focused on strengthening bilateral ties and fostering deeper cooperation. We've seen Zimbabwe increase its interest in expanding relations with Russia. Foreign Minister Mowira's visit follows growing speculation also about Zimbabwe's potential BRICS membership and plans for direct air links between the two countries.
I am extremely pleased to be in the Russian Federation for the second time as Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade. I came in November and I came to these offices. I met the Deputy Minister because we were very busy. We had a very busy schedule. Zimbabwe is committed to strengthen its relations and continue with the excellent relations between itself and the Russian Federation. That's exactly what takes us here, to make sure that we are very strong. We are very happy to be here and extremely pleased that we have this meeting. Of course, we'll have more in detail. What I can assure you is that I bring very good tidings from Zimbabwe, and that Zimbabwe remains a strong partner of the Russian Federation. We are very strong in the political sphere, but we want to be extremely strong in the economic sphere and make sure that trade between the two countries is very strong. So we work on all the architectures that are necessary for this to happen. Zimbabwe is part of the African continent, and Zimbabwe is the current chair of SADC. Its job is to make sure that our relations grow stronger and more productive for the benefit of our two peoples.
Security forces in South Sudan have arrested the oil minister and an army general who are senior members of the main opposition, sparking concerns that the peace deal in the country that ended the civil war may be under threat. General Gabriel Duplam and Put Kang Kol, high-ranking figures of the Sudan's People Liberation Movement in opposition, are both allies of Vice President Riek Machar as a rival to President Salva Kiir. Its military spokesperson, Colonel Paul Gabriel, said the government had given no reasons for the arrests. However, despite the arrests and increasing tension, President Kiir has said South Sudan would not go back to war. The country is the world's newest nation after ceding from Sudan in 2011, but just 2 years later, a civil war erupted after Riek Machar and Salva Kiir fell out. The month of March is Women's Month, and as we count down to International Women's Day on the 8th, we want to highlight global and local issues surrounding the female gender. Beginning with health, the spotlight is on menstrual hygiene. Over 300 million girls and women worldwide menstruate every day, but the topic remains a taboo in some parts of Africa. This impacts girls' education and women's health. The UN estimates that 1 in every 10 learners misses school while menstruating, resulting from insufficient access to menstrual products and appropriate facilities for learners to change their pads during menstruation while attending school. There are also disparities in knowledge, attitudes, and practices concerning menstrual poverty in both urban and rural areas. There is now a crucial need to ensure access to essential resources, including pain relief and gender-sensitive facilities that will help women and girls more comfortable with this natural experience. Well, joining us now for more discussions on this is Chase Inegbedion, the Chief Period Officer of Sanical.Cloud, tackling menstrual and menopause-related absenteeism in schools and the workplace. Thank you for joining us on Network Africa.
Thank you so much for having me, Larry.
Well, it's a known fact that topics around women's health, especially on menstruation and menstrual hygiene, is usually shied away from. Why is it still so uncomfortable discussing menstrual health and hygiene freely and openly?
I think it comes with a lot of people dismissing it as a culture of taboo. You know, I remember while growing up, a lot of things when you touch women's items, it's like you're losing your destiny or some form of culture or diabolical things. So people are not taking it seriously. And misinformation and lack of prioritization. I did write an open letter when the president got in to emphasize the need of even taking this at the presidential level, that menstrual hygiene is not a nice to have. It's a must to have women's health issues that needs to be taken seriously. Where 1 out of every 10 girls miss out of school, even those in the workplaces loses their job as a result of bad menstrual cramps, perimenopause bleeding, and because they are not our culture to be able to speak to their male colleagues or colleagues in school about it, it becomes very shameful and taboo, and it's always been dismissed. That fear has led into even people losing their lives, like we've read in different countries, in continents like Kenya, East Africa. We've seen people who are ashamed to even go to places of worship and all. So I believe it's time that we normalize this conversation, because millions will continue to suffer in silence, impacting their education, career growth, and also overall well-being.
Well, in normalizing the conversation, there are still stigmas and cultural taboos, attached to menstruation, menstrual blood, and personal hygiene practices. How does this impact women, especially, let's talk about women now in the workplace?
For women in the workplace, typical thing is even having this conversation, making sure there's a need for more information. There should be a need for more awareness. Women will say, it's my issue, it's my privacy, I know more. But truly, for some people, if they don't understand the differences even between the types of pads that exist, are there menstrual cups, are there period panties, are there organic washable pads, like people become scared of the information that exists in this space, and how is technology even driving that conversation? You know, we want people to be aware that what their grandmas used when they were using rags is different from what is being outside there. So people need to be accustomed to what is working now. How is it comfortable to my body, beyond every peer pressure they get from speaking to colleagues or even students speaking to their peers in school, or the cultural taboos that comes with, oh, if I use a tampon, for example, is it a sexual toy? Would it affect me? You know, those are the things that we need to be able to see how much more to have an open dialogue about these issues, that women's rights is an open one, that women's health should be discussed, and menstrual and menopause is not a disease that should not be shared openly, and people should be supportive when that issues arises.
Well, you've said it, you know, mental health is a fundamental human rights issue, and it affects half the world, that's the females. The other half, who are men, you could say are not so concerned, only a handful. How can we help the men folk, you know, understand issues surrounding this so they can better support their partners, their sisters, their friends?
Menstrual health affects everyone, you know, and I say directly or indirectly, whoever is married, has a daughter, you know, have sisters in their home front, policymakers, partners, fathers, or colleagues. Men have a role in ensuring that women can walk, learn, and thrive without stigmas or fears. You know, when menstrual and menopause health benefit is not being ignored, businesses lose billions in productivities, families struggle. You know, when they talk about mental health, maternal health, how do you have the other hems involved, which is menopause, which is menstrual, you know, families struggle with untreated health conditions, gender equality remains age, you know, oh, how can I send my spouse to go to the grocery store to go buy me pads? How does he even understand the type of pads to buy, you know, or how can father-daughter have that conversation when the mom is not available, maybe as a result of her traveling out of town, or losing a very important parent in their lives? You know, a more inclusive society benefits everyone, and it starts with recognizing that menstrual and menopause health is a shared responsibility. Everyone should be involved.
All right, then, just before I let you go, there's also what we know that the continent is dealing with, menstrual poverty. How can, you know, this be turned around into menstrual wealth and in line with the UN Commission on the Status of Women?
The 69 UN Commission on the Status of Women is an important part of the calendar right now. It's 30 years anniversary from the Beijing Declaration, and period poverty has always been on the calendar, and that's why we're leading a conversation of even hosting hackathons. We are making sure there are panel conversation. We've also extended an invitation to the Minister of Women Affairs, who will be making a debut this year at the UN Commission on the Status of Women. It's not even just the Ministry of Women Affairs only. The Minister of Finance should be involved, the Minister of Digital Economy, because the fact that if we talk about the lack of access to products, it's about missed opportunities for education, employment, and participation in the economy. We're talking about investing in local production of sustainable period pads, like the likes of Kenya's and other parts of the continent are already working on. Tax exemption on menstrual hygiene items, you know, workplace menstrual benefits. Corporations should look into health-focused employee resource group. We should turn this crisis into an opportunity. You know, countries that prioritize menstrual health policies not only empower women, but they also unlock productivity in billions. They're making sure that these assets are very important and taken seriously, and people get a chance to be able to increase their workforce participation and also reduce health costs. And we're looking at the likes of the UN Global Compact, who are currently working with corporations to be able to take this issue seriously and extend it to all the corporations they work with.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Mr. Chase Inegwedion, the Chief Period Officer at Sanaco.Cloud. Thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you so much for hosting us.
We'll take a break now on Network Africa. Still ahead. Ghana marks its 68th Independence Day with modest celebrations nationwide. Please join us again. Welcome back to the program. We continue here in Nigeria. The Nigerian Senate has upheld the 6-month suspension of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, rejecting appeals for reduction in the penalty. This follows investigations by the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Code of Conduct, which indicted her for a total violation of Senate rules. The lawmakers ruled that the suspension could be lifted or reduced if she tenders a written apology. Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan had filed a petition against the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, alleging sexual harassment. However, on Wednesday, Senate President Akpabio denied the allegations made against him. Our National Assembly correspondent Gloria Umezioke earlier filed this report of Wednesday's proceedings.
Dramatic scenes unfold at the gate of the National Assembly in the early hours of Wednesday, March 5th, as supporters of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan stage a protest against the President of the Senate. The demonstration took a tense turn as security operatives fired tear gas to disperse the crowd. Amidst the tension, the senator representing Kogi's Central Senatorial District arrives at the National Assembly complex in the company of her husband.
Oh, good morning.
She proceeds to settle down in her newly assigned seat, which was a nodal point of the ongoing controversy, and as the Senate president makes his way into the chamber, she did not offer him the customary gesture for presiding officers. The president of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, started plenary by dismissing allegations of sexual harassment. This is the first time he would be commenting on the issue since the allegation was made public by the Kogi lawmaker.
I would like to state clearly that at no time did I ever attempt any sexual harassment on the said distinguished Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan or any other woman for that matter. I have the highest regards for women. I also wish to state that I also have 4 beautiful daughters. So at no time will I ever harass any woman. Even as a state governor, I was awarded various awards. One of them was the one you wish to know, the most gender-friendly governor in Nigeria.
Immediately after, Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan invokes Order 40, raising a petition.
The petition is in my name against the President of the Nigerian Senate, His Excellency Senator Godswill Akpabio, for sexual harassment, abuse of office, and malicious obstruction of my legislative functions. So if it may please you, I would humbly step forward and lay this petition.
You may proceed.
In a twist, the Senate's chief whip reads the rules, laying the foundation for what will be the eventual rejection of the petition.
An unambiguous terms in Rule 40 and specifically Rule 7 states that Senate should not receive or deliberate on any matter to which actions are pending in any court of law.
There is an immediate pushback from Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan.
I beg to differ that this matter is sub judice. And I stand on privilege 10, Order 10, which is on privileges.
Sorry.
No, dear Senate President, please, with due respect, do you mind? I have raised an Order 10, privileges, sir, please. So permit me to speak without my microphone being silenced, dear sir, President of the Nigerian Senate. Order 10 on privileges.
Coincidentally, I'm hearing you.
Your refusal to accept and treat my petition before the Senate Committee on Ethics and Privileges and Abuse of my privileges, and I say forth that this matter is not subject, it is not before the court. The matter before the court is on the defamation and cyberbullying statements made by your special assistant on new media, Mr. Patrick Umfom.
Tension again escalates as the Senate's procedures are debated.
Section 47 and the other sections that have been quoted by my learned brother there should be the responsibility of that committee. So close the matter, hand over to the committee, then the committee will be privileged to look into the rules and then take whatever decision is appropriate under our rules.
Mr. President, I sympathize with you. As a man being accused of sexual harassment, I am not going to comment on that because there will be an ample opportunity for the relevant authorities to deal with that. But I know, dear colleagues, that distinguished Senator Natasha went to court on a matter, then appeared on Arise TV on another matter, talking about sexual harassment. And the wife of the President of the Senate, Mrs. Uloma Akpabio, on behalf of the family, the children, went to court, and parties have been served on allegation of sexual harassment. So it is important for the public to know.
Given the clarification, the Senate proceeds with the business of the day. Upon adjournment, the President of the Senate announces the immediate commencement of the probe by the Committee on Ethics and Code of Conduct. After an hour of waiting, the committee proceeds with the investigation.
Our distinguished colleague, Senator Natasha Akpotudwagan, was properly notified of this meeting, and I'm hoping that she will be here to give us her side of the story.
Witnesses testified before the committee.
One of my staff, in person of Sandra, she told her, as I directed them, that this your seat had been moved to so. She said, where? I said, you have moved to that place. She said, no. Please, over my dead body, I will not be there.
Other members of the committee also make imputes.
It's the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It is therefore our responsibility to protect that institution. The moment we all or anybody pisses in the communal pool, we have a problem.
The petition she presented today is actually dead on arrival. And I say that because it runs contrary to Order 40, subsection 4, that no senator may present to the Senate a petition signed by him or herself.
Now, after testimonies from 2 senators and a sergeant-at-arms, the Senate Committee on Code of Conduct, Ethics and Privileges went behind closed doors to collate all the accounts, and it is expected to submit its report in a few days. From the National Assembly, Gloria Omezuke, Channels Television News.
We're in Ghana now, where Agaved's residents are calling for the completion of the Ghana Sea Defense Project after a tidal wave and flooding devastated coastal communities. Over 100 homes were destroyed and more than 1,000 people displaced, prompting the declaration of a state of emergency in the area. Waves pound the wrecked buildings after floodwaters engulfed the coastline, as well as eroded land, debris-strewn shores, and the locals saying they are struggling to repair their damaged homes.
Erosion started from 1967 to 68. All we vacated to another place where we stayed in the Denu for some time. From where I'm standing now, it will be 50 meters. Now it was almost 10 meters. So where our fathers, mothers will live, because of this erosion, we have taken a place at Agbozuma, and then we are appealing to the government that they should come and do something for us to rescue our life from the erosion. Because the sea is our business, we get our daily food from the sea. Sometimes we wake up around 3 o'clock going to the sea, 1 o'clock going to the sea. If we are located far from the sea, how can we go to the sea at 3 o'clock, 1 o'clock at the night?
Formerly, if you see this side, it's far from the sea. is far, far, far from the sea. And this cemetery is for our chief of the town, Togbi Akonogia. His cemetery is here. It's rushing with so many houses.
They started the sea defense from Blekusu area, and they got into a point here, just here nearby. And then it stopped there. When the government, there was a change of government in 2017. Where they started, where they've gotten to, it stopped there. That's what government was trying to do. And since 2017, this thing keeps caring. Every year, something will happen.
Today, March 6, Ghana is celebrating 68 years of independence, and its closest neighbor, Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Maitama-Tuga, is extending the country's warmest congratulations to the Republic of Ghana. As the country marks 68 years of freedom and self-determination, Nigeria says it joins the host of friendly nations in celebrating the remarkable achievements and progress made by Ghana in strengthening its democracy, fostering economic growth, and promoting peace and stability in the West African sub-region. Ghana's journey since gaining independence in 1957, according to a statement, has been a source of inspiration to Nigeria and the entire African continent. The enduring friendship and bilateral ties between Nigeria and Ghana, rooted in shared history, cultural affinity, and a common vision for a prosperous and united continent. Nigeria says both nations will continue to work together to address the challenges facing the sub-region via the ECOWAS platform and equally advance the ideals of the African Union's Agenda 2063. And that's it on the program for today. Thank you for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.